What if the veil between worlds isn't just pierced by candlelight and whispered prayers, but through the glow of a laptop, the buzz of a smart speaker, or the flicker on your phone? Tonight, we explore a new frontier of spirit communication, one that collides Victorian seance traditions with cutting edge technology. Paranormal investigators Ron Yacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez join me to reveal how voices of the dead may be traveling across frequencies, circuits, and your screens. Welcome to the Digital Séance Experience. I'm Dave Schrader, and this is my Paranormal 60.
I'm not gonna stand here and listen to this baloney. He won't float. He doesn't stand for baloney.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Good evening, my darklings, and thank you so much for joining me here this evening. Are you as excited as I am? I don't know if you know this. Maybe you've been living in a cave. Maybe you were submerged in an underground hidden lair by lizard alien people. Maybe you've been abducted and just returned to Earth by a Yeti, and you had no clue that I have a brand new TV show. Well, I do, and it's available now. Paranormal Mysteries, starring me, Cindy Kaza, and Shane Pittman. I know the other two are probably not nearly as familiar to you as international Golden Telly Award-winning TV sensation Dave Schrader is, but they're pretty impressive, and they're back with me. We are out investigating all new cases. This time, the files we open are our own, and we're excited to bring you along on this journey. But Dave, how can I watch it? Is it on Discovery Channel? No. Is it on Travel Channel? Well, we know that ain't happening, but it is on Beacon TV, and it is a brand new original series. Beacon TV, your new home for all things paranormal, horror, and true crime. As a matter of fact, Jack Osborne is out filming a brand new series for Beacon TV right now. So go subscribe. It's only $5 a month. And I don't want to hear the old, I'm not paying for another streaming service. Listen, you've already got Discovery and Travel, and all you do is complain to me that there's nothing on there but reruns of reruns of reruns. And you're probably spending 10 to 20 bucks a month on that. So I'm going to tell you, cancel it. $5 a month. Get Stream Beacon TV. And then you're going to have brand new programming, paranormal, true crime, and horror. So why wouldn't you sign up? It's an amazing opportunity. And all of you that are fans of the Holzer Files, Ghosts of Devil's Perch, 28 Days Haunted, and wanted to know when the team's getting back together, we're back together. Brand new episodes drop every Friday. Our final episode airs on Halloween, and we hope you'll enjoy that one especially. Go tune in, check out the episodes right now. It would mean the world to me and to my two comely friends, Shane and Cindy. Yeah, they're involved too. I let them have little parts in the show, just to placate them. Actually, they're great. As you know, we work as a team in a unit, and we've had a lot of fun. We've got a lot of fantastic feedback from you regarding our first episode at Ashmore Estates this Friday. The story from Ashmore continues, only this time we follow Robin Terry, the owner of Ashmore Estates, to his humble abode to find a very disturbing connection between Ashmore Estates and the R Theater. And you're not going to want to miss it. It's a great two-part series episode. You don't have to have seen the first one to see the second one, but it certainly helps. So go check that out. Let's get started. Getting a chance to travel around the world. I get to meet with investigators and people with grand schemes and plans. And I'm creating the newest technology to be able to communicate. And then I never hear from them again. And then I meet people that build things and they put them out there and I never hear from them again. And then there is the rare people that hit this echelon where they have poured their heart, their soul, their mind, their creativity into something that may just blow open the doors to the way we perceive communication with the spirit realm or whatever else is unseen around us. And that's who we're going to talk to tonight. I'm extremely pleased to bring them on. It's been a few years and I've teased and toyed with them. Would you like to be on my show? And then I ghost them for a year at a time. It's hilarious. And not really on purpose. I have meant to have them on and it just hasn't lined up. but now they're here with us. But I look at the time I've already wasted. So we'll say goodnight tonight. We'll come back and have them when we can give them a full show. What do you guys think? No? Have them on right now? Well, all right. Boy, I can't believe how forceful you guys are. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us, Ron Yacovetti, Lourdes Gonzalez. They are here. They are ready to share with us. And, I got to be honest with you guys. Through 20 years of doing what I've done, I've gone to a lot of conventions. I've met a lot of people. I've seen a lot of crazy experiments. I've been part of some crazy experiments. I've held like electric globes in my hand with my feet in a pan of water, blindfolded, hanging upside down. I'm not even sure it's a real trick. I think Shane was just trying to electrocute me, but I could be wrong. I've seen a lot of these cool different experiments, and a lot have left me flat. And then at New Jersey Paracon, Ron, you're like, but you got to come look at my crazy experiment, Dave. And I got to be honest, I reluctantly dragged my heels in to come see your crazy ass experiment because I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And when I go in and there's nothing happening and they're trying so hard, and I was like, oh, please don't let these people suck. And then voices from the ether started coming out and answering our questions and acknowledging things in the room with us, the people in the room with us. It was bonkers. And I was very excited and thought, wow, this really might go somewhere. And I've watched you continue to develop this. I've seen you at other conventions and watched you work with it and watched people come out blown away. So I'm glad we're able to finally get together and do this. And let's start at the beginning. With this type of technology, this is unlike really anything else out on the marketplace. This isn't something that is readily available for people to just go purchase and start paranormal investigating with, because you're really taking your time to put this together, work through the bugs, understand what you're doing, how it's doing what it's doing, and you're making communication. Now, maybe I've given you too much credit, Ron. Lourdes, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you haven't figured out anything yet. You're just slapping shit together and hoping it works, but you do it really well. So congratulations on that. The idea for this device, let's go ahead and talk about where did that germination begin?
So one of the things, and I know you do this, that we thought was important in this field is having not only reverence, but familiarity with the people who came before you, the people upon whose shoulders we stand with what we do. And so the American TV ghost hunting movement is familiar mostly with the spirit box or ghost box, started with Frank Sumption's Frank's box. And I think for many, that would be the inception of what's called ITC, or instrumental transcommunication. But in fact, it goes deeper. EVP pioneers started using white noise from a radio just as audio support for EVP recordings. And then they were told through their communications, voices would emerge from the radio as part of the burgeoning electronics age. And that's what they saw. And it was called direct radio voice, or DRV. When I really got fascinated with ITC work, I had noticed for at least 20 so years, the people at the top of the game, the leaders in ITC research, were builders that were making versions of spirit boxes or ghost boxes. And I don't solder and work with those types of things. If I did, I would be high-fiving you with fewer fingers. So I don't. But I wanted to be involved. And then I came across Dr. Annabelle Cardoso, who's now in Spain, who was the last survivor of direct radio voice research. And she worked with the people in Europe who put it on the map. Most famously, a little Italian gentleman named Marcello Bacci from Italy, who did sittings every month or week, mostly with parents who had lost children prematurely. And I was blown away. And I looked at Lourdes. I went, I don't know how nobody's doing this. The efficiency of this is beyond anything I've seen a box do. So I looked at her and said, we're going to listen to static white noise. We're going to record it, and we're going to listen to it again. That's how you know the relationship's good, because she's still here.
I said, hell's yeah.
Either that or she's really bored and wants to see just how insane you truly are.
I'll take it either way.
Now, Bacci I was introduced to through a documentary called The Afterlife Investigations, The Skull Experiment. And wow, if you guys have not seen that, The Afterlife Investigations, The Skull Experiment. It takes you through a myriad of different experiments that were held over a long period of time, but they do go to Bacci and they show him working and making communication. And where you start questioning, but is this guy just full of nonsense? He lost the ability for a long time. It just stopped. They stopped coming through these voices, and he was really heartbroken. And then one day they began again. So to me, that tells a more compelling story, because it's not somebody who can always just turn on a machine and get something. It's the hits and misses, like the paranormal field really is, right? We're lucky when we get some things that come through to us.
Mhm.
And Bocce blew me away with what I was watching with those recordings. And it went back, man, right? EVP collection goes back to the first recordings of bird song when
Yeah.
the creators were out recording bird songs and they were capturing voices. And it's
Jorgensen.
continued to develop in ways that are unbelievable. And, you know, you've got people like Frank Sumption, who, again, he didn't invent the tool that he was creating. He admits it. He found it in an old Popular Mechanics magazine. I think I have a copy of that Popular Mechanics magazine in my cabinet. But I want to say it's like the 50s or 60s. And it was basically the idea for a ghost radio. And he took cigar boxes and manipulated things, putting it into the cigar box to make the self-contained radio units, and started using them to communicate. I was blown away the one time I got to work with him because he'd never seen somebody go into working with it for ghosts like I had and get the responses we were getting. And afterwards he goes, I got to tell you, Dave, that surprised me. And he goes, and I'll surprise you. I don't use it to talk to ghosts. I talk to aliens.
Yeah.
Said Frank. What? And he goes, all of the boxes, I engrave them with alien signatures and
Mhm.
things. He goes, I was a purple princess. And I started to waffle on, oh, this guy's taken one too many blows to the head in high school football. And then he goes, let me show you what I do. And he turns the radio on. Same radio I just got done doing a live ghost session with. Turns it on and he starts calling out. And these weird voices, these mechanical, echoey voices that sounded nothing like the ghosts I was talking to, started pouring forth. It was insane.
Yeah.
And then we even actually picked up and went into another room because I was thinking, is somebody helping him and broadcasting something? And I moved around with him. I couldn't break it. He couldn't. We both just sat there dumbfounded by what each other did. So there is something really spectacular to this concept. And the idea to give a template of noise for ghosts to be heard sounds kind of ridiculous. But and I'm sure you've noticed it, and I've heard it when we've been together, when you're running things and you're running different devices, when you record it and play it back, you'll notice that the sound is not always integrated into the white noise or sound. It's almost elevated above it, like it's just broadcasting on the wavelength that you're supplying it. So you're getting two layers. You're getting the bass sound, and then you're getting the recording that comes out. I can't explain it. And those are usually the best recorded EVPs I get, is when you hear it and it's not just snips and snails and puppy dog tails from radio, but you're hearing these voices and continually the same voice responding to you over a scan process that it seems impossible to have happen.
Right. Yeah. To track with the history, the guy who taught Marcello Bacci how to do this was Friedrich Jurgensen. He's the guy with the bird songs who had the voice of his father come through. He's considered the father of direct radio voice. Dr. Annabelle Cardoso sat with Marcello Bacci. She sat with Friedrich Jurgensen. She sat with Konstantin Radove, which before they were called EVPs, they were called Radove voices. So she mentored me into direct radio voice. That's who I learned from. And then one of the things I think happened when they would lose the voices, and I had read about this even from Dr. Cardoso, in our process, what we just kind of explain what we do is we take that white noise, which we're now using from analog generators that get no RF signal. We can talk about that, but we looked at cynical, low-hanging fruit and criticisms, and we tried to address those to see if we could vet this more. So one of the things that we did was we got analog generators for the white noise, but I forget where I was going with this now.
Well, I know what I was going to say as far as the ghost boxes and Frank's.
Right.
Well, what we believe is there is something to the white noise,
Mhm.
right? That's how we, noise is where everything comes from, how we speak and everything. So there is something to the white noise, and we believe when you hear those voices in those ghost boxes, we believe they're not using the sweep. It's the white noise within the sweep that they're using, and that's why it either replaces that sweep or you hear it really low. But it's not in it. It's within the sweep.
Right.
The white noise.
And I remember what I was going to say is we ended up being influenced by a gentleman in Florida named Keith Clark, who's got a company called Paranormal with a V, paranormal.com, and he was doing live filtration of sound in real time. So we incorporated that and started using it. Then we got away from it, and then we went back to trying it. And I think that one of the things that might have given the appearances to those founders of losing the voices for a period of time is that if through the using the white noise as a canvas kind of intermodulate. Like, if you want to receive frequencies from VLF, you get a transducer, you get something that bumps it up so you can tune into shortwave, but receive a frequency lower than that. It just bumps it up into that range. So we think that the white noise works to intermodulate something that is not a physical signal and that is not within human hearing. And then it makes it detectable to us. So I think what we're doing makes the voices seem more prevalent because they didn't have that part of it in their process. So if it didn't resonate significantly enough, it would still, for all intents and purposes, in the white noise be undetectable. But for us, we're filtering the noise floor down, so there seems to be more of a frequency of, not like frequency like sound, but like more often that we're getting voices, because we're making more of what maybe isn't bold enough to jump out in amplitude easier to hear now by dropping the noise floor out, by filtering it in real time.
And I think also that since we're not using because when they did it, it was with the radio and it was in a barren channel. And I think because it's a closed system with white noise generators, I think it has something to do with why we receive more voices. I mean, I could be wrong, but
Well, I firmly believe that when you sit down and you apply something like this, people will tell me, "How do you get so many EVPs? I watch your shows. How do you get so many? You've got to be faking it." And then I do it in person with people, and it kind of blows them away.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's because I'm, have any magical superpowers, but I think that when you set an intention and you do it a lot, I've bonded with my equipment. Now I'm going to test that because I just bought a second Panasonic DR60 recorder, and I'm going to start using it at conferences and events to see, because I've never used it before. I don't know how it's going to work. I tried it when I got it home and I got no EVP on it in the first hour of messing with it. Which is good. That excites me because that's how my first recorder was. No matter where I took it, I was like you, I was looking at all the low hanging complaints. Oh, it's digital noise. It's picking up the interior sounds from its recorder. Okay, that means that it should do it all the time. No. It's picking up RF stray radio frequencies. Well, then it should be doing that at least 3/4 of the time because we're bombarded by RF. And I wasn't getting that. It's taken a while of bonding with your equipment, kind of becoming one with it, which sounds weird, but
Yeah.
people I know that are really successful spend a lot of time with that piece of equipment. What you guys have done, creating this new piece of equipment, working through it and pouring your heart and soul into it, I think that's a big reason. Now, Dave and Dustin Perry could go up there and you guys could leave the room and we could start bombarding it with questions and waiting and get no response. And it may just be that the other side, the coordinators, the operators from the other side, whatever you want to, they don't know us. They're not willing to release to us yet until you come in. That's why there are some places like the Palmer House Hotel. I get people that are like, "Dave, I just visited the Palmer House, and every time I say, 'Oh, do you have a message for somebody?' it calls out Dave. Talk to Dave, say hi to Dave, send a message to Dave." And they're like, "I think it's you." And I'm like, "Yeah, probably, because I'm there all the time asking questions and poking and bothering them." So it's not so far-fetched, but I think we do start to make an impression on the environment that we're investigating.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, well, it's known that in the earlier pioneers would say that they would come in their favorite equipment because that's the one that they used all the time. So it's like anything else. The more you do it, the better it gets. And intent is big. You have to go in there with a certain mindset because that also plays a part. You are part of the equation.
Yeah.
That's it. You're part of it. So you got to have the right mindset. And if you do, the more you use it, the better it gets.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it
And we
is.
did try to take the low hanging fruit out. We did Paranormal's Sterling Mine, and we were below the surface of the earth still using a radio for the white noise source. And that was where cell phones and radios and their signals went to die. You couldn't get anything. We were in pretty deep. And then we still had voices coming out of the white noise with no RF signal. So then we realized we don't need that. So we took it out because one of the main critiques of ITC, especially with boxes, is you're getting radio bleed through. These are voices from the radio. So now we're not sweeping and we can't receive a signal. It's, from a physics perspective, a closed circuit system, right? And then the only other thing is, and this is kind of a double standard with discoveries, if you have, like, let's say in particle physics or in astronomy, if you get something that's discernible in what they consider randomness, it's a discovery. But if it doesn't fit into the worldview, the paradigm, which is materialism or physicalism, then it's pareidolia. You heard it wrong. It's what you wanted to hear. It's mistaken. So it's a double standard that's based on the worldview. And one of the things that when we speak now, we include a metaphysics or a metaphysical position, because it doesn't only support the anomalous voices we do, but I think it supports a lot of what we call paranormal evidence or experience, knowing at a foundation level what your metaphysics is. Metaphysics does not mean spiritual woo stuff, like I think seems to be the accepted way to look at it. It literally means that which stands behind the physics, what's behaving. And I think that's important. So we kind of built upon that.
I like it. And that's the concept, right? I mean, is we're trying to build upon the things that have already been there. And what can we do to remove the problems and isolate the probabilities or the possibilities and give it a better functionality? Have you guys considered including like an AI in the sense of real-time closed captioning, so that while you're talking and a voice comes through, it can do a readout and tell you what the voice said? So it takes out some of the, I think I heard Lucky Charms. I didn't hear Lucky Charms. I heard Watch Your Arms. I didn't hear Watch Your Arms. I said there's nothing harms. And I don't know, would that work? I've tried recording, and now my phone does this. I've tried to record my EVP on my phone, and then I can do the not translate, but the I can't think of the word right now.
Transcription?
Transcribe. And it'll go in and it says, "We detect no voices." And I'll play it back, and you can very clearly hear the response. But even the AI or the transcription service is like, there's nothing there. That's so weird to me. Is it because are we impressing something onto it?
Yeah.
Are we causing something to be there?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna dump this one off on you because you're the person to answer this. I think with the part we talked about before, where there's intent involved,
Yep.
right? I think that if there's intent involved, there's no reason to assume or to not extrapolate the fact that that could be two-way, that could be reciprocal, right? So your hearing is not the same sensitivity as the microphone. So if there is an intention for the message to be for you, that might be what you hear. They did studies where they took people, and I think it was with ghost boxes primarily when they did it, and they were discrediting it because people heard, like 70-something% of people heard something different, and then whatever percentage heard this. But the thing is, and as she always says, is just because you heard a different word doesn't mean it wasn't speech and it wasn't language. It wasn't from some kind of syntax context, right? There's still something to it. Now, on the transcription part and the accuracy of it, beside me here, one whom I will not argue with about what was said most of the time, she's a licensed court reporter for the state of New York. So she hears everything, and she's not in the courtroom anymore. She's listening to recordings. So what is your slogan? And then explain how the...
I say what I do for the living, I do for the dead. But I'm a court reporter.
Right.
And court reporters do closed captioning. They do what? And I personally don't like using it because it'll pick up some words, but it's not that accurate. It's not accurate. So you'll pick up a word, but it may not be the word that it is. You're better off hearing it with your own ear, because that's why they use human court reporters, because
Right.
it's not that accurate. That's the only reason why I wouldn't use it.
Yeah.
So
It's good.
I mean,
insight.
you could, because sometimes it does give you the word that it is. I mean, it could be helpful, but just know that it's not that accurate.
Yeah, secondary validation. It could be to corroborate something. This thing also got it, so then it maybe increases the odds of it being compelling to somebody else. But yeah, a lot of times it would not be accurate. We've had people do it with handheld devices on phones or
recorders
that have AI transcription, and it oftentimes does not nail it down.
No.
Okay. Yeah, it was worth examining. Kevin Swanson says, have your guests found a specific frequency range that seems to pick up more voices?
That's an excellent question. We get asked that a lot. We don't have it narrowed down to one. We have done certain things in the live filtration, what's known in sound as, it's called a band pass. Like you can lop off the extreme highs and extreme lows where we don't seem to see anything coming through. but there doesn't seem to be a consistency in the same way you would pick up a radio station. And we use the entire broadband of white noise for that reason, is because we don't have any direct access to where the voices are originating from. It's like a wide receiver running downfield, and he looks over his shoulder for the ball. His job is what our job is to receive as cleanly as possible and keep it going. We don't see the launch. We don't see the toss. So we go with where we seem to find them, but they do seem to be all over
They fluctuate.
the frequencies and stuff. So we're not 100% sure for one. And if we honed in on one, we may be losing at one time voices that maybe would be coming in resonance wise somewhere else. So that's the main reason why. And it's a common question because radio works that way, right? When you tune a radio, you don't tune it to the music and sound itself. You're tuning to the carrier wave frequency by which it's being brought to you. That's what
Right.
you're tuning to, the carrier. So in that aspect of it, it seems like a logical step to find what the carrier might be. But we find that as a canvas, the white noise itself seems to be the springboard, because if it's not a mechanical sound out of its origin, like we have mechanical sound waves because our voice box, our larynx creates that, and it propagates or goes only so far, and then it'll just dissolve out. We're not talking about something making a mechanical sound in the environment. So it's not a physical signal. We originally thought that it was resonance or stochastic resonance when a matching frequency enters white noise, matches one of them, and then they resonate and get louder. They get amplitude. But then we realized, and we just re-examined our own theory and blew it apart, that that's probably not the case, because that initial signal of the voices would have to be a physical signal within matching something in the white noise. And if it was, we wouldn't need to be doing what we're doing. It would already be detectable. So we think it's taking something non-physical and it's working as a canvas, like what I mentioned before, a VLF, very low frequencies under 150 hertz, I think, on the bottom end below long wave. And you can get a device that's called a transducer, and it'll take 50 hertz in VLF, and it'll bump it up so that the radio will play it for your ear, modulates it to your ear to hear it at like 1450 shortwave. We think that the white noise is taking a non-physical signal and it is making it detectable through an intermodulation, literally working like a springboard or a canvas for it. That's what we think is happening.
I like it. Lots of thoughts involved. Steve Jones goes, well, because science, double, triple studied, peer-reviewed science. And then he continues with, you got to get something that can be studied. And there needs to be a breakthrough on that realm. Well, Steve, it's nice that you feel that way. Unfortunately, a lot of science doesn't want to take the time to investigate this because it's boring to them. And who are the peers then in this field? So
right.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, Steve, and I'm not trying to talk down to you. I'm just giving you insights. This field is filled with a bunch of vipers, a lot of nasty ass people who are simply out to poop on everybody else's stuff. And I'm not saying you, not by bringing this up, not at all. But what I'm saying is, in order for it to be peer reviewed, that means you'd have to have other people that are like-minded, that are working in this field, reviewing the work that you're doing and taking it and trying to dissolve it or understand it, dissemble it, put it back together. The problem is not finding those people, because the people that are out there just want to find it and dismiss it. I'll tell you this, Bill Chappell is an electrical engineer. He is so high up in the food chain that he has worked for just about every major organization and military to help with things because of how good he is at what he does. And yet morons out there who've watched a bunch of Mr. Wizard videos think that they're smarter than Bill Chappell and want to take apart his equipment and then decry it and say, well, it can't do that because of this, because of that, because of the other. There are two very famous paranormal investigators out in the field who strung Bill along for a long time. They're not Ghost Adventures, so don't jump on that. Ghost Adventures was very kind to Bill over the years. The other two wasted a lot of his time, made a lot of big claims, and have absolutely no background in the field of electrical engineering, yet they will tell you how it doesn't work and how it's impossible. Well, that's like me telling an active cop what the law is when I haven't studied it, but I watched every Starsky and Hutch, right? It doesn't make you a genius on the subject. And for people to say definitively this is what it is nonsense.
Right.
What I really enjoyed about Ron and Lourdes in the beginning here is they said, we took our own beliefs and blew them up and realized, oh, this is our theory. And then you put it to practical use and it fell apart. We would love more peer reviewed, but there aren't people in our field that are necessarily qualified to do that. And then people in the acoustics field don't want to be associated with ghost stuff. And
Yeah.
people in the science field don't want to be associated with the paranormal. So it's damn near impossible. That doesn't mean that what people are doing and creating is not valid and worth further investigation. Now, I'll also put this out there. Bill Chappell, who created the Ovilus and so many of the other devices out there, every time he created a new piece of advice, or not piece of advice, a new piece of equipment within a short term, sometimes just in taking the image, the idea, the trademark, and the patent and putting it in, he would get a call within a day from a military group that wanted access to it and wanted prototypes. And Bill sold them as he would to anybody, same prototypes, but they would buy a dozen or 2 dozen at a time. And 2 weeks later, buy 2 dozen more. And a few weeks later, buy 2 dozen more. So there is peer review going on, but it's very deep. And the government wouldn't be so interested in this type of equipment that's being built by a real electrical engineer if they weren't finding that there's something worth investigating. And that's important. So Ron and Lourdes are open with the fact that they don't have all the answers, but they're going to take concepts, which is what Bill Chappell started off with. He said, let me take, you say that in this frequency to this frequency is where EVP lives. Then let me only listen in this frequency. Let me check this. And they're in this light spectrum. Then let's make a camera that can film in that light spectrum. Well, Dave, maybe the fact is that they're in that light spectrum. When we turn that light on, it bleaches them out because it's the equivalent of us staring into the sun, right? So what else can we do to highlight them, not in their light realm, but in a realm that will complement it and give us the ability to see them? I like that there's always a new way to think about things and process these things because we can't stagnate, and it's okay to create new ideas and test them out and then get people that are willing to sit down and try it over and over. And that's what Mark and Debbie Constantino did with their EVP. Every day, 3 p.m., they sat down for an hour every day and they recorded EVP for an hour. Yeah. Because that's what they were doing. They were setting the intention. They were making a time for it. The spirits knew when to come in. So you could say, oh, that's baloney. But then you sit there with them, watching the recordings happen in real time. It's hard to just dismiss it and summarily dismiss it. So again, Steve, understand, I'm not attacking you. I'm just taking what you've said and trying to expand upon it and give people a different concept. Yeah. Every one of us, Ron, Lourdes, myself, Shane, Cindy, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, Paranormal State, everybody wants this proof. Everybody wants to be able to come together and say, this is what we're doing. How can we make it better? The problem is that there's too many fragile egos and too many huge egos in this field that won't allow it because they didn't come up with it. They didn't endorse it. They're not making a penny off it. Therefore, they're going to poop on it. So that's a reality in this field. And it sucks. It really sucks because I watch good people like Ron and Lourdes get burned out every few years because they're trying and people are mocking them, scoffing at them, beating them up. And I love the fact that you two have taken some ass kicking over the last number of years, and you just get up and start figuring out a new way to look at things and a new way to examine it and bring this electronic seance out to public places so people can come see it for themselves, put it to the test, try things out and speak to you. And I asked Ron tonight to dumb it down, folks. Okay. Fair warning. I asked Ron to dumb it down because he will talk our ears off and nobody will understand a damn thing he said. But that's how much he's into this and what he's doing. So I encourage you, go see their talks, record what he's saying, go back and investigate the things he's bringing up so that you can see this isn't some nut just grabbing stuff out of the air. He's got science behind it. He's looking at the different theologies behind what this could be. So I really appreciate it. And not just Ron, Lourdes as well, but I just want there to be that plan. And the reason I asked him to dumb it down, and I know there's 2 or 3 of you in the audience who are going to be shaking your fist in righteous indignation, but I've done this job long enough that when I see somebody intelligent come in and start talking intelligently, I watch the numbers drop, because everybody thinks they want the science until they start getting the science and they don't understand the science. So they walk away from the science and then just tell you they're a fake or fraud. So by having Ron and Lourdes tonight talk to us on a more basic level, my hopes are that we're opening that door. We'll have them back in the future as we continue to progress with this knowledge. We do have to take a very quick break, and I promise I won't do as much talking in the next couple of seconds. But I also want to make sure that I'm standing up and giving good people an opportunity to be heard and understand why I had them on the show to begin with. We'll be back with more of the Paranormal 60 right after this.
How are you, Darklings? This is Mark Lanou, innovator, musician, world traveler, and no stranger to the paranormal. Come take a journey with me through this place we call life by picking up my new book, Reality Was Once the Tapestry of the Dreamer. It is available at Barnes & Noble online and will soon be available through other vendors. Get your copy by following the link in this ad or by visiting my official website at markalanlanou.com.
All right, we are back, and Ron Yacovetti, Lourdes Gonzalez, they are here talking to us about the Digital Séance Experience. We got a little bit of a taste of why they wanted to put something together, a little bit about how they were doing what they're doing. So much of it is so deep that even if I let them tell you everything about it, you will walk away from this conversation no more intelligent than you came, because you have to know what's going on. There's some really exciting opportunities, and I love watching you guys do what you do. As a matter of fact, I'm really hoping for Paranormal Mysteries that if we get a second season, we can get you guys in on an investigation with us and put it to the task. I'd love to see what we can get from it. It's limitless, and I think there's some really interesting things that can be found. Now, with that said, have you done much? I've done a lot more experimenting with this now than I ever have, where I tell everybody in my group to think of a word. I tell them the word and I say, don't speak it out loud. Think of the word, focus on the recorder. And after a minute or two, we play it back and you hear the word. So the question is, are we magnetically influencing the recorder to pick up the word? Is the word there and the spirits are picking it up because they can telepathically hear us and they're reciting the word back to us? I don't understand how this all works, man, but have you done the thought process where you have the words and see if the machine will pick up on what you're putting out there?
I do the other stuff. You can say this.
All right. Well, I mean, if we could influence the machine, the electronics, we would be violating FCC regulations every day, right? You'd be driving to work thinking about how much you despise your boss, and it would come through the radio during your favorite song. So I haven't heard of those experiences. So I don't think that's what's happening. We think, and I will try to make this very bare bones. We think that reality is fundamentally consciousness, that the basis for reality is consciousness, and we are all part of one universal consciousness. And then because of that, we are connected to it. But why we identify separately is what's called dissociation, right? We have seen a mind do this with multiple personality or dissociative identity, one mind fragments, individual centers of identity. So you just take that model that we already see in nature, you go bigger, you extrapolate. Reality is consciousness. That's the fabric of it. And then we are each separate dissociative parts of it. So when you're asking a question and on the device, the answer comes out the second you finish, or even before you finish the question, it defies sound and laws of physics with sound, because the sound hasn't had a chance to travel anywhere. There's no one within range to have heard it, processed it, and answered it, but it's right there, right? That's super luminal. That's faster than speed of light. So you have to account for that somehow. The theory has to fit the facts, not the other way around. So we think that is how it happens, is that it's mental, and you could call it telepathy, because essentially if reality is one big mind and we have individual minds that are fragments of it, it's telepathic.
Yeah, we believe that they're grogging it from us. It's not that it's coming from us, but it's we're part of the equation.
Right.
So if that information, if anyone knows it, that person or anyone, if that information is out there and they're grogging it from us, that's how we're receiving it. It's not that we're putting it out there into the radio or the method.
Yes,
that's what we believe.
right there, the collective consciousness. Right. Right. Like, I don't think anything can be remote viewed that hasn't already been viewed by somebody
It had to be
through a collective
experienced.
consciousness, because of the qualities of experience that we have with vision don't exist out there. Right. Because we have those experiences, our ocular system, our eyes process with the light, right? The photons, we have that experience with vision. Those qualities of vision experience we have are not out there. We have that. So for someone to remote view something, somebody must have already seen it, because of the properties that vision gives it are not out there. So we think that's also part of the collective thing. If I may, and I will be bare bones for you again, the question of the science thing, I kind of wanted to address it just
Yeah.
in short, because it's
Yeah.
important. When we say the whole thing with science and everything else, two things. One, science doesn't prove, math proves. Science, through experimentation, asks questions of reality or nature, and then outcomes happen. And then we either tell what nature or reality will do, won't do, can't do. It doesn't tell us what nature or reality is.
Only behavior.
That's metaphysics. So when somebody's talking about the science and the proving part of this, they're also talking to what's called physical realism. They're talking about physical proof. There's a term in philosophy called material chauvinism. They want some kind of physical, material proof of what happened. And we do get that. We have recordings, right? But what we do is completely analogous or completely identical to an observable science, an observational science, right? If you want to study the behaviors of meerkats in the wild, if you take them out of the wild and put them in a room in a laboratory, you're not going to study what it is they do in their interactions. You
That
can't take an untouched tribal culture from some remote part of the world and put them on a couch in a Holiday Inn and then observe the behaviors of their culture and study anthropology. You have to study it in the field. So if you're going to throw out paranormal stuff on the grounds of science, then you have to, per force, you have to throw out astronomy, anthropology, sociology, right? And other ones that are field research. It's either all or nothing.
That's right. Because the mistake that we keep making is when we try to explain these experiences, we keep putting it in the science of physics, and that's not where it belongs. And that's why the explanations don't make sense.
Right.
It is an observational science. That's exactly
Right.
what
And face it, many scientists aren't going to go with you to a haunted location to put the protocols into effect. Now, I have been to a few conferences where I've had some scientists approach me, people from many different walks of life that have real degrees in science and are real physicians, physics, rocket scientists, people that have come to me and said, I have a real problem with some of these things, but what I've seen here this weekend, I can't explain. This is really something that I need to think a little bit more deeply about. I came in with my wife or my husband thinking this was nonsense, but this is what they wanted to do. And I'm standing back going, how are they
Yeah.
getting those voices? How did it know that? Why
That's
is
right.
it speaking out loud? What
That's
is
right.
taking place here? So sometimes you can't get science into it till science confronts it, right?
Yes.
Hey, Bigfoot doesn't exist. If it did, we'd have found a body. Less than 200 years ago, we found the gorilla. Gorillas don't exist. We never find a body. Well, but
Right.
people are seeing it. Yeah, but these are backwards country idiots in the middle of
Yes.
Africa. They don't know what
Yeah.
they're looking at. Oh,
Mhm.
really?
Yeah.
Because we found gorillas. So there are many different things, even in
Yeah.
science today. That's why it's called a practice, right?
And that's why it doesn't prove. Newton was mocked for 50 years by the French until they finally said, oh, now gravity's a thing. And then that got supplanted by Einstein's the warping of space-time
There's a lot of biases.
for the same thing. I think the field suffered from wanting credibility and validity so bad that we're worshiping the neo-priesthood of science, and we're trying to make everything go under physical sciences like physics. And by doing that, we make unexamined assumptions. We assume things. One of the things that gives any method of gaining knowledge its strengths or its limitations, its restraints, by what it can't reach, what it can't speak to. Because if you commerce or operate outside of the boundaries of science, you're not doing science. That's what gives it its strength. So we can't try to put everything under that. You can't quantify or measure in a physical sense everything. It's not possible, and things we know exist. How much does my love weigh? What's the length of my thoughts? Nobody questions love or thoughts, but you can't quantify them. So that by that standard, we go, well, those things don't exist. That's not true. physicality is a result of observation and measurement. So it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I want to answer this question.
Yeah.
So,
Slacktastical says, but consider this: a thought is a thing, and the mind doesn't know if a dream is fact or fiction. So does it have to have been a real experience? Maybe not.
well, it depends on what you're describing as a real experience, because for an experience,
Any experience is
any experience is real. Any experience that you experience
Right.
is real. Even someone who hallucinates and nobody else sees it, that experience was real to them.
yeah.
And so the dream, whether it be fiction or fake, once you wake up, even though you know it's dreaming, you know you experienced the dream. The dream is real, even though it may, you see.
Yeah.
So anything you
Sometimes-
experience is real.
Sometimes I firmly believe that this realm that we're in right now, having this discussion, is the dream. And when we go to sleep, we're reconnecting with the physical. Because there are so many remarkable things that happen in our dreams that I think that that's where reality lies. And sometimes the bleed over is coming over. The dreams, the weird experiences, it's
Right.
reality bleeding over into our subconscious and trying to communicate and let us know that it's here
Yeah.
and it can hear us. Again, I mean, maybe we all need to puff off the bong, but
No,
That's
No,
just-
I think it's another
it makes
method of
sense.
communication.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
another method of communication, dreaming, synchronicity, what we do, whatever, any method, it's just another way.
it
of
makes
communicating.
sense. So we talk about a philosophy called analytic idealism, which says that reality is fundamentally mental, or what I said before, consciousness, subjectivity. Because that is the only thing in existence that is pre-theoretical. We know that for sure, right? We're conscious and we experience. Period. Everything else we try to figure out is theory on top of being conscious, right? So being when you're sleeping, when you're having a dream, or when people do psychedelics and the brain activity is reduced, but they have the most vivid experience, what we think is happening is that your senses, which usually pull your attention, are now not distracting you. It's those things are now not obfuscating everything else. Like you go outside during the day, you don't see the sun. I mean, you don't see the moon and the stars you see at night. It's still there. You're not experiencing it because you're being pulled by the sun and the noise and everything else. So those things aren't there. When you dream and sleep, your sensory input, your what we call a dashboard, your dashboard of dials, right? What your instruments that tell you what's going on, like the cockpit of an airplane, reads what's for the pilot happening around him. So our instruments are not working at that point, right? You're not consciously, you're not aware of hearing things, you're not aware of seeing things. You're just more introspectively open.
Oh, like
To
a
keep it more
meditative
simple,
state.
right? Like a meditative state, right? So you're having a more vivid conscious experience without the instruments regulating how much you take in.
Mark Lanou says, if those scientists grew up seeing and experiencing these things, they would have a totally different perspective. There is no changing my mind. Agreed,
Yeah.
Mark.
Some of them have been late. I mean,
Yeah.
some of them have been switching their minds because they've had experiences and they're like, wait a minute, something else is going on. Yep, it's happening.
Yeah,
Right.
That's true.
I think what would be an interesting study, Ron and Lourdes, is for you to run the device while you sleep and write down any dreams you remember, any specifics, and then go back and play the recording. And do you hear things that are part of that dream realm? Is there something there that was influencing you or you were influencing? Maybe not, Ron. I could be wrong. Your
No.
weird
No, it's
fascination
a
with
great.
your weird fascination with Katie Couric could become public then, Ron, and Lourdes would know the truth. But it would be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because
Excellent idea.
you're no longer inhibited. You're allowing
Yeah.
consciousness
That's a
to
good idea.
coexist with this. In spite of yourself, the experiment could take place.
Yeah. We know outside of our senses, we know that there's infrasound, infrared, right? So we already know that there's more than we can take in out there. So it's safe to assume that there's things going on that we don't pick up on. That's hence the metaphor of the cockpit. The thing is that the pilot never does is we mistake the dashboard and what information we're getting for the sky. We think that everything we see, touch, taste, smell is everything that's out there in its totality. It's everything. And it's not. We're getting a limited view. Again, we know infrasound, infrared, there's stuff that we can't pick up. Our dashboard does not register. So that's that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is we started working with Jay Prather, who makes the IDC devices for his project WorldGate. And he's doing what's called brain entrainment. I'm sure you know, like the God helmet, and what it does, it's making your boundary. When I talked about that, we're all part of one mind, but we're dissociated as individual centers of identity. It's taking that boundary and giving you what's called ego dissolution. It's making it a little bit more open, right? And so we're doing digital seance alongside of that, so that while people are having their astral travel out of body experience through the brain entrainment, through the frequencies and the hemisync and the manipulation of the state of mind, to see if we get words that come through timestamp that sync with the things that they come back and report when they do their exit interview post session.
Wouldn't it have been fascinating to have turned on at 7 a.m. on September 11th, 2001, to turn on your device and just record for the day without knowing what was coming, and then play it back to see what was captured, what was gathered?
That's interesting, because when I have connections to 911. So let's put it this way. So actually, that may be a good idea to do, because I would be interested.
Yeah. What we wouldn't do is we wouldn't post it on YouTube like many of the ITC ambulance chasers that seem to do that within minutes of anybody famous dying.
Oh, I know. I will tell you this, that when that jackass does it, when I die, the only way you're going to know it's real is if you hear me cursing at him from the other side.
There's a few of them now. It's not just the one. There's a couple of them that do it.
Yeah, but the one started
the one that started it.
Yeah. So you'll know it's me when you hear him. Oh, are you there? Yes. Off.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Then you'll be like, all right, he actually got Dave on this one. That's awesome.
Yeah, but that would be interesting to do. I would want to, because I worked for the police department at that time when that happened, and
in New York
City.
Yeah.
So I actually was close to it. Yeah. So
you think about
I never thought about it.
People that have premonitions are actually feeling the reverberations through time of something that has happened that will be impactful to them or to the world, right? Mm-hmm. We just can't always make sense of it. But yet, it would really be interesting over the next month or so here, while there's so much going on in our planet, to just have it running and recording. And then when you denote this took place today, a massive earthquake hit Singapore at noon and lasted in 12:05, finding that time frame and listening. Could you hear, like Star Wars, the collective of a million voices going out? Is there something that would be recorded in those moments that we could actually hear and listen to?
Remember, we were at the Shanley Hotel with John Zappis when the Ukraine war first broke out, and there was a lot of stuff that came through that sounded like turmoil. It sounded like that kind of thing. And Zappis was flipping out. He goes, "Is anybody else hearing this?" He couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that was what was happening. I mean, I hesitate to claim 100% that that's what was going on, but it did seem.
It was. I mean, the people that were there felt that it was the people from Ukraine, and it did sound very it was kind of disturbing, but
because there's no distance in space and time with relative consciousness, right? So if there's a mortal wound that takes place to our planet and the people of it, and there's a public outcry, there's that moment of mourning, that moment of realization, that's got to have an impact. Look, and I know there are some of you that think I'm crazy. Look up the random number generator and the information that they got prior to, during, and after Michael Jackson's death and 9/11. It was as if the universe knew this wave was coming.
Yeah.
And it started aligning and doing things that it should not be able to do. Right. But when a collective consciousness rose to an occasion, it noticed.
Right. And see, those ideas seem impossible or silly when you take a materialist view, and a lot of people do assume that time and space are the fabric of reality. But time and space cannot be, because they are both experiential, right? Time and space are a filing system. It's cognitive proximity. It's how we separate moments, how we separate things. So that's not fundamental to reality as the fabric of reality. Space and time are both experiences. And in order to have experiences, you have to be what? Conscious. So you can't have what's called a dichotomy. You can't have that everything in reality is explained by mental stuff and then mind's matter stuff, and have time being something that's fundamental. It's something we experience.
I mean, that was the first day of the war, the very first day of it, like it literally just started, and we were at the Shanley. So I believe all that energy, all that, suffering. Yeah, that's a lot of power there.
It made an imprint.
Unfortunately, it's sad, but it's a lot of power.
So
yeah.
for Slacktastical's question, that has happened.
Well, hold on. We have to read the question so that other people that are only listening know what's going on. Slacktastical says, once we can communicate telepathically with another human being while alive, this is when the breakthrough will occur. Then the vehicle for communication with the spirits will blow wide open. And you're right. It has happened. There is so much research that's been done on twins that can telepathically communicate.
Yep.
That science repeatedly, continually to this day, it wasn't a quick little deal. They're continually doing experiments with twins and triplets because of what they're finding.
I mean, my opinion as an idealist, I believe everything we see is some form of telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
It's some form of telepathy because it's mind at large, it's collective consciousness. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
powerful.
It has happened.
Let me ask you this. I know we don't have a whole lot of time left together. Fascinating conversation. Thank you for being a part of the show and thinking outside the box with me. Do you, Ron, I'll start with you. Just a quick, basic answer. Do you believe that what you're communicating with are spirits of dead people?
All right. The short answer, I think yes, and perhaps those who had never been incarnate. I think that when you have survival theory, what continues after what we call physical death is consciousness, is your consciousness. I don't think you take your consciousness with you because you are your consciousness. That would be like your carry-on bag checking itself in as a carry-on bag, right? So I think consciousness is what in fact continues. I don't think, and we can save this for another time, I don't think we're communicating through ITC with extraterrestrials because it assumes a whole lot of stuff with archetypal thought patterns, empirical references and stuff with language to say that it's to translate another being or creature from another galaxy the same way you couldn't translate dolphin into English, but you can translate German into English because there are archetypes, there are foundational things in language that are the same in how we think, so you can translate. So I don't think ITC hears a voice in a language we understand. There's no translator. I do think that a physical medium can do that the same way the hot zone of your brain will represent to the front where language and stuff is in symbols and in metaphors to try to communicate a message. I think extraterrestrials could perhaps influence the brain activity of a medium to get them to communicate that to themselves to interpret the message, but I don't think electronics can.
We have a link for Ron and Lourdes on tonight's show so that you can follow up on the work that they're doing, see what's going on, and you can go hear real examples of this work as it plays out. Lourdes, are we really talking to the other side?
I believe we are talking to the other side. I believe that we are talking to loved ones, but I don't think they're individuals. I think if you think about religion and you think about the Holy Ghost and as a whole, I think we're talking to our loved ones that passed, but they are now whole, part of everything. You're not necessarily talking to one individual, even though that they can't answer us as an individual because they're grokking that information from us. But I think they all exist as a whole and not necessarily individual. That's what
it's an assimilation, but when you address to one entity, it can answer because that entity lives within the assimilation.
Right.
Perfect.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you dream,
that's what
right, you hear voices of animals, people you know, music, all right, see things, places, and you dissociate in the dream the same way we're saying it happens in reality. You identify as you're the dream avatar. When you wake up, you don't mourn the loss of your dream avatar. You go, oh, that was all me. One mind did all of that. So that's exactly the way you phrased it was perfect. That's what we think is happening.
Very cool. Very disturbing in a sense too, right? Because it doesn't bring us any closer to truly understanding. Again, these are theoretical discussions, hypotheticals. and in my mind, if it can communicate with the dead, I think it can communicate with other spirits, because you don't necessarily, or other energies. An alien doesn't have to speak English to understand the thought behind the words that are being said, right? I mean, we know that animals can learn through hand signals how to do things. So that means there is a baseline that we can work on.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie Close Encounters, things are done with music, mathematics, and hand signs, because they can't communicate the way we could, but they found a way, right? And I do believe
Well,
that
that's it.
there's a lot
I'm
that's
sorry.
based on that. No, that's good, right? That I think a lot of that movie is based in reality. I think, with all the people that were involved in it and the letters that went back and forth with Spielberg, that they know a little bit more than they want. So I think, again, we have to keep our minds open to the possibilities and
Mhm.
allow for anything. And it also means don't easily be fooled. Sometimes things are not as they appear, and it very well could be that they're not the demons, they're not the dark side, but it's a spirit and energy just having fun with you, because they know what you really want. And look, I've been watching the discussion on the side from people, and so many of them are like, "Oh, I want to hear a voice, but I'd be terrified." They know that. And when you go in there, you're the one that they're going to be like, "Ron's going to die," right? It's going to address, because you're like, that's the last thing you want to hear when you turn that on and hear that message. I want to continue this discussion and maybe have you guys bounce on every couple of months, and we could talk about what's going on in the field, how this revolution may be taking place, and what can we, the individuals, do that don't have your type of equipment to be able to add to your experiments, to develop new ideas. Mark Lanou, who has been a guest on our show and is a frequent contributor through questions on this program as well, I think would be really fascinating for you guys to connect with and share, because I know he's working very diligently on a piece of equipment. That's all I can say. But I think that Mark might have some insight that could help you guys, and you might be able to help them. And we may be getting closer and closer to that realist idea that phone call is one dial away. We're getting there.
Yeah. No, we appreciate that. Yeah, we welcome any time to come back. We were super excited and honored that you had us on tonight. We thank your audience for showing up and participating. Some people that we've seen that we know.
I mean, I have fun with the discussion. I mean, I could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
You got another hour, Dave?
Yeah, we'll do it again, and maybe even open it up to audience that can pop on with questions and take it in different ways. So we'll do that. Ron and Lourdes, they have a website. All their information is on the site. It's on today's program guide, so you can check it out for yourself. Guys, thanks again for being here with us tonight.
Thank you very much
Thank
for having
you.
us, Dave. This has been great. We love working with you. This was fantastic.
It's a
Thank
pleasure. We'll be talking again soon, hopefully for season 2 of Paranormal Mysteries. I want to remind everybody, it's coming up real quick, October 9th through the 12th. I only have 5 tickets left for the Halloween Haunts and Hijinks event with me, Dalen Spratt, Diet Renee. It is going to be an amazing time at the historic Palmer House Hotel in Sauk Center, Minnesota. And there is gallery sessions. There will be live ITC communications with Dalen and his spirit boxes. And if you've not seen it in person, it'll blow your mind. It's really incredible. So it'll be a great opportunity for you to come out and check that out. And please, please, please let me remind you, Paranormal Mysteries is out and available. Episode 1 is on Beacon TV. Just go to streambeacontv.com. You'll be able to find out how you can connect, how you can watch these programs, get over the $5 nonsense, cancel one of the other streamers that are not providing you the content you want to watch. And if you want to watch paranormal, you want to watch horror, you want to watch true crime, then Stream Beacon TV is the place you're going to need to go find it. So check that out for yourselves. Tonight reminded us that the tools that we use may change, but the question remains timeless. Are we truly alone? From spirit trumpets and candlelit parlors to voices captured through EVP apps and radio waves, the search for proof continues to evolve with every generation. My thanks to Ron Yacovetti and Lourdes Gonzalez for guiding us through the strange intersection of past and future, where technology becomes a bridge between the living and the departed. And as always, may the darkness of this world be just a little brighter with the knowledge and fun that we share here every week on our Paranormal 60.